The train that skips time. The moment he thought was gone forever. If you could go back, would you? At the weary end of another day, Elliot, a solitary man in his middle years, boarded the last train. The platform was deserted. An eerie stillness permeated the carriage, and through the window, familiar, yet unsettling landscapes flickered past. He felt a growing unease, a peculiar sense that this train was not merely traveling through space, but through time itself. And then, with a jolt, he understood it was hurtling, not towards the present, but towards the past. The station it finally arrived at was a ghost from 20 years. A goal the very place where he had once hesitated, unable to make a crucial choice. A decision that had ultimately cost him the love of his life. Yet, on this strange, silent night, he was being granted a second chance. He stepped onto the platform, the air thick with the dust of forgotten moments, and saw himself, his younger self, standing there, a mirror image of the indecision that had plagued him for decades. His heart, usually a dull throb of regret, now pulsed with a fragile hope, a fleeting possibility of redemption. He knew what he had to do, what he had yearned to do every day since. To utter the single phrase, the one word, that could rewrite not just his past, but his entire future. He felt the weight of years, the burden of unspoken words pressing down on him. Yet within that pressure, a new resolve began to forge itself. This was his moment, his one chance to break, free from the chains of what-ifs and might-have-beens. The younger Elliot, oblivious to the spectral presence beside him, paced back and forth, a picture of youthful anxiety. His hands were clenched, his gaze fixed on some unseen point in the distance, a point that held his destiny. The older Elliot watched, a profound ache in his chest, recognizing every tremor of doubt, every ripple of fear that crossed his younger self's face. He knew the conversation that was about to unfold, the words that would be left unsaid, the unspoken plea that would turn into an eternal regret. His throat tightened, a lump forming as he struggled to find his voice, to push past the barrier of time and offer the wisdom born of 2 decades of sorrow. He took a deep breath, the cold night air filling his lungs, steeling himself for the impossible. There was no guarantee this was real, no concrete evidence that he hadn't simply drifted into a waking dream, a cruel hallucination brought on by exhaustion and loneliness. But the vividness, the raw emotion of the moment felt too real to dismiss. His younger self was about to make the same mistake, to allow fear to dictate a path of solitude. And he, the older, wiser, and infinitely more regretful version, was here to intervene. He raised a hand as if to touch the younger man's shoulder, then hesitated, a whisper of doubt still clinging to him. But the urgency of the moment, the knowledge of the lonely road ahead if he failed, propelled him forward. "Don't," he finally managed, his voice raspy, a mere whisper in the vast silence of the station. The younger Elliot paused, his head cocking slightly as if he'd heard something, a faint echo from a distant future. The older Elliot pressed on, his voice gaining strength. Each word, a desperate plea against the tide of history. Don't let fear win. Say it. Tell her everything. Don't walk away from love, no matter how hard it seems. This is your only chance to avoid a lifetime of what-ifs. He poured every ounce of his accumulated regret, every shard of his broken heart into those few words, hoping they would be enough. He watched, breathless, as his younger self seemed to absorb the unspoken message. A subtle shift in his posture, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. There was no direct acknowledgement. No grand revelation, just a subtle, almost imperceptible change in direction. The younger Elliot squared his shoulders, took a definitive step, and walked towards the waiting train. But this time there was a newfound determination in his stride, a resolve that had been absent moments before. He watched him go, a profound sense of peace washing over him, a lightness he hadn't felt in years. There was no sign, no outward proof that time had truly bent to his will. Yet, as he boarded the returning train, the same silent carriage, the same flickering landscapes, his heart was no longer shrouded in darkness. The oppressive weight of regret had lifted, replaced by a tender, unfamiliar hope. The journey back felt different, less about escaping the present, and more about embracing a future that was, perhaps, now open to new possibilities. The faces in the carriage, once indistinct shadows, now seemed to hold a hint of shared humanity, a connection he hadn't perceived before. The rhythmic click-clack of the wheels on the tracks was no longer a mournful dirge, but a quiet, steady beat of renewal. That train, the one that had taken him back to a pivotal crossroads, was more than just a means of transport. It was a vessel of second chances, a symbol of the profound truth that even a heart, scarred by regret, can find its way back to love and forgiveness. It whispered of the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring power of a single moment of courage. Elliot knew that his journey wasn't just about changing the past, but about transforming his present. He looked out at the passing landscape, no longer searching for ghosts, but for the dawn of a new day, a day where the echoes of regret were finally silenced, replaced by the quiet, comforting melody of hope.